It's gonna be a quick live. All right, so everybody got their New Year's resolutions. What's yours? Most people lose weight. Most people start talking about money within the first couple of, I say, days. Maybe some for the week. That momentum goes down. By February, everything you said you was gonna do, you ain't do. So what's gonna be the next goal? I already got in place some things about my job situation where I'm gonna be making more money. My mortgage, I'm actually gonna be trying to pay the mortgage additional principal payments every 2 weeks. I'm gonna try to do I'm gonna try to do every week, but every 2 weeks I'm gonna start trying to contribute principal payments to try to hurry up and pay off my mortgage, because you're doing it every 2 weeks or every week. You're breaking down the interest. I've been doing my studies on this, breaking down that interest every day that's accruing, and the amortization schedule, which most people, if you look at you paying your house off, you're going to pretty much pay triple than what your house is worth, according to the amortization schedule, because the interest weighs heavy within the first couple of months of that loan. And what's going on, Bronze? Can you hear me? What's going on? What's up? Might have to cut this and come back and put on my headset. Might be a little noise in the background. But yeah. Worrying about your mortgage, trying to pay it off, I just don't like overspending. I don't like the recurring charges that are always, in my account, snatching money out. That's like if I had all the money, I would literally go ahead and pay my my life insurance for the year. And I could do that. I could just start setting the money aside every month. Then at the end of that, year end, just go ahead and pay it in full. Same thing with my the car insurance. Do it, pay it by the year. That's how my friend, he does it. He takes his tax return. He pays the taxes on his house separate from the mortgage, which you can adjust the rates, because you can always shop around according to you every month. It's already inputted into your mortgage payment. Actually, taxes, you can't avoid taxes. You pay taxes every year. That's something that I would love to do, is just to pay everything on a year-end schedule. He pays his mortgage every month, but he, like I say, he has to take it out. I prefer to just go ahead and pay everything up front, or just pay it off as fast as possible. That's what I do with my cars. I typically buy a car, make the first couple of payments, and start looking at ways where I can cut costs to pay this car off faster. Let's say if I'm always shopping and stuff like that, I'm gonna slow my shopping down. Doing a lot of traveling, I'm gonna slow the traveling down to where, vacations. My family's not typical. We take about at least 5 vacations. We take majority 3 to 4 with the kids, but me and my wife always take one major vacation by ourselves where we spend a lot of money. And that's just for us. But majority of the time, I tell my sons, I'm like, how many of your friends have their passports? How many of your friends take vacations like we do? And they say, well, not much. It's normal to my kids to go somewhere. They might not go to summer camp and stuff like that, but they're going on vacation for the summer. They're going on vacation for the fall. They're going on vacation for the spring. You might not go as far, might not go to some extravagant like Disney World or something like that, but we go on vacation, and you got to budget for stuff like that. That's why I'm saying, according to this year, I'm gonna have to, work some extra hours or do something to get that budget to knock that mortgage down on my house a whole lot faster. Because, like I said, when I looked at the amortization schedule, it's like all the money's going to principal. We know that. Well, I would say, me, by looking into finance, I know that a lot. So therefore, I'm looking at the odds of, making it be in my favor. And a lot of people, honestly, they just pay bills. That's all. You're taught, if you don't pay them bills, they're going to cut this off. They're going to do this to you. That's the only thing kids are taught. As adults, you're taught the same way. And, I'm going to get a little personal with this. My oldest son, this guy has a hard time paying bills. And I constantly talk to him about things like this because I'm like, you're an adult, and I tell him, I say, dude, it's okay for you to go and have fun, but the thing is, this is wrong when you got to pay your mortgage. You got to pay your rent, and then you're going out eating with friends and family, and you're hanging around, people footing the bill. Just like recently, he had some car issues. He lets a lot of people borrow his car, and family, friends. But now that the car's messed up, nobody's borrowing the car. Nobody's trying to help him with it. And I told him, remember this when you go pay. One of my friends on YouTube, we were talking, and well, we always talk about this, but he said sometimes you got to be the ruthless nice guy. And I told my son this. I said, you're going to have to be the ruthless nice guy. You're going to have to eventually start saying no to people that you're always helping. And it's not that you're wanting something in return, but it's that you need help as well and nobody's there. So I told him about paying his bills. Hey, put your schedule out. The things you need to pay, write it down. A lot of people don't know the power of writing things down. Not just with your bills, with your dreams, what you want to do. Because that's going to be a constant reminder every time you look at it. I remember I wrote down by the time I turned 25, I wanted 2 kids, I wanted a house, I wanted to be married, and I wanted to have several cars. 2 things came on that list, and 3 in a business. So technically 3 out of the 2 came in. Well, no, 3 out of the 2 came true. I was one of the co-founders in the business that me and my friend started, and I was a manager at another company, so but not counting that, but co-founder at a business by the time I was 25, LLC, everything, married with 2 kids, my wife's 2 kids, but the thing it came true. Only difference was I didn't have the house and I didn't have several cars. But like I say, writing things are powerful. I showed it actually to my wife, and she was laughing. She's like, when did you write this? I was like, I think junior or senior year in high school. But like I say, back to it, getting on him about finance. This is one of the big things that a lot of parents are not talking to their kids about. They're just paying bills. They don't know where they can save money, cut corners. I start bringing my food to work majority of the time now versus buying. I spend about roughly $10 for breakfast, lunch. Might get a meal deal, spend about $8. But, round it out with the drinks and snacks, looking at about $10. Then turn around, I have points where I want to go get a bottle of water. What made me stop buying so much from the convenience store I actually went and bought 4 drinks, no, 3 drinks, a bag of chips, gum, and a candy bar, and it came well over to 18 bucks. It was like 15, but when I added the gum and all that, it's like 18 bucks. But really 17, but like I said, 18 bucks. And I'm like, man, I gotta stop buying from the store like this. So I started buying my stuff in bulk at the grocery store, sitting in my truck. I got tons of water in there, got juice in there. Go get some ice. So if I want it cold. That instant going in the truck while it's hot, getting a cold water drink, man, you can't beat that. But that's the whole point, having that cooler while I'm saving money. And, you know, I'm telling my younger sons the same thing. This Christmas, you know, I'm giving them money instead of buying them gifts. You know, they're older. I don't have time to be going to buy stuff that they don't like. You know, they done got picky with the clothes. You know, I'm like the grandma age to where I'm just going to buy you socks and drawers. That's what I used to get from my grandma. Socks and drawers for Christmas. But I'm giving them money. They have to budget their money, you know, for things that they want. Prime example, both my sons, they have long hair, they get it braided. One of them actually want dreads, and he cut his hair down to make it even. But this is the thing. Since they turned 14 last year, I started making them pay for their own getting their hair done. I started making them pay for getting their hair cut. Hair done means braided. Getting their hair cut, you know, I started making them pay for their own shoes. Of course, I got them some clothes when the school started, but after that, they were on their own. They had to buy their own shoes. And they was like, how are we gonna get this money? I said, by doing your chores and coming to do some side jobs or, you know, work with people to make money. I'm teaching them responsibility right now. Because this is the thing that a lot of parents, which I wasn't taught, that, you know, I had a hustle mentality about myself because I wanted money, you know. So that's why I went out there, you know, worked, found little jobs where I can go. My granddad had his own company. I worked for my granddad, you know. I remember one time I went and picked up cans as I was walking along the street, and crazy part, it wasn't that much money, but the whole point was, I was like, I'm helping the environment, and plus I'm making money. And this was me as a kid doing this. I used to sell candy in school, you know, because why? I wanted extra money. You get to a point where the stuff you want, it costs, and the parents are not going to buy it from you, for you, you're going to find a way to make you some money. And that's what I'm teaching my kids. They got to get that hustle mentality, and also showing them how doing this hard work, you're going to start making better grades. Because eventually, when them callus on your hands and that back hurt, I had my son's digging the trench one time, and one of my sons, man, he do not like manual labor like that, but he like money, and he just like, it was killing him. And I told him, I said, make better grades, you won't have to do this, you know. And there's nothing wrong with doing it, but the point of it is, you know, I seen a Chinese proverb say, which one is mightier, the pig or the brick? You know, you can pick up the brick all day, it's a little heavy. The pen is easier, you know. And that's what I was telling my son, you know, get into something that you don't have to do as much work. You know, hey, believe it or not, it's a lot of guys that are getting into being secretaries because processing paperwork is easy. That was always deemed a woman's job, but now I'm seeing a lot of guys getting into it, you know. But needless to say, like I say, going back into the money, teaching my kids proper etiquettes on trying to, benefit themselves with making money, benefit themselves with learning how to save money, because when they get older, they're going to have to be in a situation where they're going to have to survive out here. And if they don't learn how to pay bills now and knowing to make sacrifices, they're going to spend all their rent money and they're going to be out there on the street. And I'm letting them know, hey, when they want certain things, I might even get to a point when they get teenage, I say later on, about 17, but they're 14 now, but when they get about 17, 18, I might even get to a point to start making them pay rent, just like a regular house. I want to teach them this. I want this stuff to be embedded in them to where they be making sacrifices. I'm already going to make them like my older kids. I made them pay their own car insurance, and I made them pay their own cell phone. My daughter grabs the concept. My son, YOLO. These boys, it's hard to break them in. That responsibility is to a point where I have that too. But this is my thing. I can always go and make more money. I can literally always go make more money. So this is something that I'm cool with, that I can get done versus a lot of other people. I got a job that where, I can schedule out work and make more money. How many people are doing that? What's going on? What's going on? Been here early. Just quick video. I actually got up early to go to work. I don't never get up this early to go to work. But yeah. But teaching them young, that's the thing. Like I said, my boys, I have them making sacrifices about money all the time, because I don't want them to be adults not knowing how to properly budget themselves, and they're always broke, always calling, relying on me. Of course I'm gonna help them because I'm dad, but at the same time, it's gonna be some times where I'm gonna have to teach them tough love. I'm gonna have to say, hey, I can't give you this money. What's your next move? Where you gonna go get the money? You gonna borrow it from somebody? Now you owe somebody money. You're gonna get a loan from a bank. Now that bank you're gonna owe that bank interest. So teaching them this stuff now is gonna help them, do better and be better in life. Because a lot of times these kids, man, they don't have no guidance. They just out here just living. Situations come about, it just come about. Nobody's taught them anything. You know how many kids don't know the basics? You literally, all they know is pay the bills. They don't know how to knock that bill down. Like, prime example with your light bill. Cutting the lights off in every room. If you're not in there, just leaving the lights on. I tell my sons that all the time. I said, dude, if you're not in the room, cut the light off. You know what hindered my friend, his brothers from doing all that? One of his little brothers, he would always take long showers. When they got to the age of work, the dad made the son that took the long showers, made him pay the water bill. Don't you know this guy was in and out the bathroom in like 10 minutes? Same thing with my other friend. He was a little scary kid, so when he come home, he would always turn on the lights on in the house, and he'd be sitting downstairs with a butter knife, thinking somebody gonna break in the house. Cause he just come home alone. He's in elementary school, 5th grade, and he was scared. So he would turn all the lights on. When he got older, even though he didn't do that much, his dad made him pay the light bill. Don't you know this guy would come in there and turn the lights off in every room like in the living room, nobody's in the living room, he'll turn the light off and go sit in there and watch TV in the dark. And they'll be like, why you sitting there watching TV in the dark? He was like, because it's light in the kitchen. It's an open concept, so the light still shines there, but you don't want no light on the living room. Front porch light, oh, at night before he go to bed, he go cut the light off. His mom get up and dad get up and go to work in the morning. They can't see, so they got to cut the light on. When he leave to go to school, in high school, he cut that light back off before he leave the house. He started knowing the value of money. Same thing with his brother. I remember one time it was so crazy. His dad was in his room taking a shower, but he had his master door locked. Don't you know, his son banging on the door, banging. He thinking something going on. He get out the shower, run to the door. What happened? What's going on? He said, Daddy, you taking too long in the shower. Man, his dad was so mad. He was like, boy, when you was taking an hour in there taking steam baths, like he literally was being there for an hour. Got his music going, everything. But once he knew that value of $1 and he had to pay that bill, he didn't do that no more. And you know, that's what I say, that's what I'm trying to teach to my kids. So they know this concept that, you know, the whole thing, money doesn't grow on trees. And then the instant that you want to just ball out of control, spending all this money, this is what's going to happen. You know, and just saying the least that a lot of times these kids don't even know the value of $1. You know, they don't know the first thing about, all they know is paying bills. All they know is just whatever the paper say, pay it. They don't know how to break that bill down so they can get it less. I actually have smart thermostat in my house to where I can know how much my bills, you know, are accurately going to be. They have on the site where you can see how much power you're using every day with, you know, the power company if you log into the site. It tells you a dollar amount every day that you're spending. And if you get to that same dollar amount every day, you know how much your bill's going to be for that month. I mean, there's ways of saving money, but nobody's teaching people this. You know, like I said, paying my car insurance off and shopping around. That's like me in the situation I was just telling my friend, I'm looking at getting another job because there's no loyalty with jobs no more. You get a job, on average, staying with a company for 20 years in return, that used to be like a flex and a major thing. Nowadays, companies don't value that stability from these employees. You know what companies value? Their bottom line. They're looking at, how can I save money on this and go and do this and make it easy for me? The benefit of the company. They're not looking for the employee, you know, that's been there for 20 years. Seniority doesn't mean anything now at jobs. You could be a seasoned seniority employee, but the new guy that's been there for 3 years will still get that supervisor position over you because the manager might like him. I remember my wife's job, I literally laughed. They had a supervisor position open up. And the crazy part was this. My wife, she said, I don't know. I said, apply for it. She said, I don't know if I'm applying for it. I don't think I might get it. The only issue that my wife had on that list that they put out, they said you couldn't be tardy or absent so many days. You had to pretty much have, you know, from the absent and tardy, have, you know, consecutive 40-hour days. Just small criteria stuff. What else she said it was? They had to have a at least 85 percentile on their customer service rating, you know, when they do their surveys, and, you know, as far as their job, completing tasks, doing their jobs, 85%. You know, in school, that's a B all day. But you don't even have to be top tier. So everybody who filled out for the position didn't get it. And so they was encouraging this one lady to fill out for it. And I was like, well, who told her to fill out for it? She was like, everybody was. So a manager told this one girl that, yeah, this girl might. And I told my wife, I was like, this is the setup. They actually designed that position for her. I said, the reason you didn't get it, because you was tardy so many days. You were never absent, but you was tardy so many days. Your overall performance level was like a 96. She was a 96. So she was a shoo-in. But the lady that got the position, hers was 85. That was the threshold for them to give her that position. So I'm like, man, they designed that position for her. And y'all helped her get that position by telling her, because she didn't even want to get in that position. But like I said, man, these jobs right now, I'm looking into getting another job every 3 to 5 years. I was watching this video and he was saying getting a job every 3 to 5 years will help combat against inflation, because you're keeping up with the job market and the value of how much people come in and get paid versus you getting a quarter or 10-cent raise every pay period, or $1 every pay period. Whereas, you know, you hiring people now, most people who have that value, they're not settling for a $7.25 pay. They're not settling for $10 and $15. They're going for the 18s, $22, $28. And if they're not getting that, they'll walk out the interview once they hear that lowball pay. Well, have a nice day. Well, don't you need a job? I don't need it for that low pay. You know, these young, new generational kids, they, you know, they're blunt to the point, but at the same time, they're actually, you know, tipping the scale, where a lot of these jobs have to actually, you know, put up a shut up. So have an issue where a lot of people are just not putting themselves in the right situation or putting themselves in position to win, that hurts. You know, like I said, for the new year, everybody always have these New Year's resolutions and stuff like that, but they don't stick it out. Writing it down on paper, and something easy as just paying a little extra on bills to pay stuff off on time. You know, credit cards. I have some credit cards that I gotta pay down, but I'm not just gonna ignore these credit cards. Like, I'm just gonna cut my spending on the frugalist spending that I do. I overindulge on buying tools, you know, mostly stuff for my kids. I'm gonna slow that process down. Like, as being a parent, you're wanting everything that you didn't have when you was young, and it kind of gets to a point of getting the kids into a spoiled mentality, but also putting a, you know, a dent in your wallet. You know, I bought my kids dirt bikes. I didn't have a dirt bike when I was young, but the point of it is getting them one because I didn't have one. They got go-karts, four-wheelers. I didn't have that stuff when I was growing up. You know what I had? Skates and a bike. Skates and a bike. Like, I'm getting an e-bike for Christmas. I know my son's gonna ride that e-bike more than me. I'm not even gonna hardly be riding it that much because I'm always gonna be working. You know, but that's something that I bought for me they're going to enjoy it as well. My wife, I bought her an e-bike for Christmas. These are the things that they're going to enjoy that we might or might not even use. But to a point is slowing down that extra spending, that unnecessary spending. I could be taking that money and putting it on my credit card. Those two e-bikes, one was $3 and the other one was $5. So that's $800. I could have put that $800 across 3 cards or 1 card and pay, well, 2 cards, pay the rest on one, and then start paying almost the minimum, well, a little bit over the minimum on the other. $800 goes a long way. It's like I said, me buying tools. I'm in the process now. I need some more tools for the work that I do on the side. I gotta go buy some more tools. Buying these tools, I need them for the jobs. So just not overspending. I could take that money and go put it towards bills, credit cards, and things of that nature. But I'm about to get ready to get off here. Like I said, man, sticking to your New Year's resolution, having a goal to, pay things off, get a budget, write it down. I mean, it's good in your head. I want to do this. It's good in your head. Write it down. Stick to a budget. The biggest thing with me, I have my Google Calendar full of dates, bills, all these bills I gotta pay. I have them on my Google Calendar. The week before I get paid, I see all these bills popping up. I don't put the bill when it's due. I do at least 5 to 7 days out. So when Friday comes, I look on that calendar, I know I gotta pay this, I know I gotta pay that. 5 days before the bill due, I know all the things that's gonna get paid. 5 to 7 days, I know I got this water bill due on Friday, I need to pay that. I know the cell phone bill is due, I gotta pay that. Well, I don't have all the money for it because I know the bill is gonna have to be paid sometime during that week or that next following week. So I'm gonna have to either pay some bills this Friday, budget it out, and then by that next Friday, pay the rest of the bills. A lot of people don't do that. Just having the tools that's in front of you, a lot of people don't take advantage of those tools. I should actually make my radio brighter so y'all can see me more, but like I said, just taking advantage of using that calendar. That's a whole lot of difference, man. You don't have to worry about writing it down on paper because you keep your phone all the time. With Samsung, I have a note folder. I'm constantly putting notes in there about the things I want to, achieve, things I want to do, a task that I need to complete. All in that notes folder. Me paying these bills, I'm writing it down. I'm putting them on the calendar. I'm seeing how much money I got to pay out every month, how much my paycheck varies. So I can stand to make more money. My paycheck varies. So when it comes down to it, I make that extra money. I don't got to ball out, go hang. I don't do club no more. I don't do all that stuff like that. So what am I doing with my money? Where's my extra money going? That's when you start breaking it down, looking in that account. How many people audit their account and see how much money they're spending? There's things that are coming out. I see so many people use that Rocket Mortgage. I mean, not what is it? I think it's Rocket. It ain't Rocket Mortgage, it's Rocket something. But basically, it goes down your account and to see all the bills that you're paying. Because some people are paying like 2 or 3 Netflix. I see that there are subscriptions that I have that I'm not even using. I had an AI video subscription. It cost me $25. I paid it for 3 months. Only used it for 1 month. I ended up getting one of my months back, and the other one I lost. But the first month I used it. Second month didn't use it. By the time I caught it on the third month, I canceled it. Stuff like that. Just looking in your account, you'll see that you're paying 2 Netflix bills. You might have 2 separate emails that you put Netflix up under. Saving your passwords, and I have a password folder where I go in, put all my passwords, my users, my username, the account that it's up under, whether it's Netflix, any special characters that I put in there, information for passwords, to nicknames and favorite animals and all that. I have all that in that folder. I also have it to where it's a code on it so nobody can get in there but me, really. And my wife, the code for her, just in case, say something happened to me, she can get into all my accounts. You know, you never know. You want to have it to where somebody can have access to your stuff. I seen a video once, and I'm going to get off of here, where a guy went on a trip with his wife. She didn't know the passcode to his phone, and he died in the water. And the Reaper came and picked him up. And the crazy part was, he's like, I got to tell my wife the passcode. Our itinerary, everything is on my phone. The passports, all that. She can't even get back. The hotel is in my name, on my phone. She can't even get back to the States without getting access to his phone. There's ways that you can make it happen, but it's going to take a while. So not having access to his phone, man, she was stuck. And, you know, my wife has access to my phone. I'm not doing nothing crazy. I'm not out here wilding. You know, it takes too long to doing all this cheating stuff, and then on top of that, STDs, and it doesn't go well. But anywho, like I said, just having yourself to a point where New Year's resolution benefits you. Make it to a point where you're paying your bills, you're having a budget, saving money. You know, if you want to buy a house, look at the criteria on buying a house. They have first-time home buyer program, no money down. You pay the closing costs. Make sure you get that inspection. Make sure you get that inspection on the house. Closing costs and inspection, you're good. But you have to qualify with your credit. If you're not paying your bills, you're not doing what needs to be done, you're not going to qualify. Most people can qualify for an apartment, but can't qualify for a house. Some people can stay in a hotel. I just found a guy, he was paying $600 a week in a hotel, but he don't make enough money to get an apartment. He's paying $2,400 a month at a hotel, but he can't get an apartment because he has to make, what, 2.5 times the rate. Like, what are we doing here? It's getting crazy out here. But yep, like I say, shout out to everybody. You know what I always say when I get off here: we here, we gone. Peace.